Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so there's some trades to announce. The NBA did, in fact, make some moves before the trade deadline as expected. And that's not what I meant to say. The draft is what I meant to say. Trade deadline is very, 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 very much into the future. But we do have some trades to announce before the NBA draft coming up tomorrow. And they go as follows. The Denver Nuggets did exactly the very thing that I said they need to do to get better is the thing that they did. I said that this morning on the way to where I was headed. When I made a video this morning, I said the Denver Nuggets need to try to trade and get into the draft or try to get themselves some depth of some kind. Player development is the way forward. They just need to add some depth to what it is they already have. I don't expect that they're going to lose Bruce Brown, but just in case, they probably want some picks to try to give themselves a Bryce Sensabaugh or something like that, just in case something goes wrong in that particular situation. And that's what they did. They went and picked up a couple of Pacer picks, since the Pacers had literally 8 or 9 picks or something crazy. Pacers condensed that, turned that into a first rounder of next year. So the Pacers will have 2 first round picks next season, which is really good for what they got going on. And the Denver Nuggets pick up 29 and 32. So we knew the Pacers had 3 picks back to back to back at the end of the first round, plus the other pick that they have earlier in the round, and I think they got another one later on in the second round as well. So they got rid of some of those back of the first round picks, turned it into pick number 40, and then took 2024's next year's pick for the Denver Nuggets. So the Denver Nuggets next year pick, chances are they're going to be a contender. It's probably not going to be the greatest pick, but it will add to the Pacers' overall portfolio of tradable assets, draft assets. So I like what the Pacers got going on. They're building something very nice over there. They're doing it correctly. They're adding pick equity and shaving off pick equity that they're not ultimately going to use positively, making it make more sense. So I like that. Turn 29-32 into a first rounder, earlier first rounder potentially. Maybe in a better situation for you next year. Who knows? Maybe you're happy you did that. And the Pacers still have picks 7, 26, and 40 to be exact this year. So you're not out of this draft. You're still going to get your guys. You're going to get some pretty good ones too. But the Denver Nuggets, they're going to get some rookies that they can invest in that I think will ultimately make them a much deeper team going forward and extend the overall lifetime of what their timeline will be. So I love that for them. Now, there was a bigger trade that took place. As a Laker fan, I ain't too happy about it because this is one of the people I was targeting. Kristaps is going to be a Celtic. They shopped him, and there was a taker. The Boston Celtics, of course, are going to acquire his $33 million 2-year contract, which is similar to that D'Angelo contract that I'm thinking we may sign him to. $30 million, probably 2 years, which is something we definitely don't want to give him in a nutshell. But when you consider what you can do in regards to trading it, it's a good salary match for a lot of things that you're ultimately dreaming about making happen. So when you talk about how do we have the salary to match, this is how you do it. You got to be willing to bite the bullet and pay some people enough so that those salaries can be matched. So that's what's going on there. Malcolm Brogdon is involved in this trade. Surprised Boston let go of Malcolm Brogdon. I really am. His 3-year, $22 million contract goes to the Clippers, and he's now going to be their new point guard. So I don't know what this means for Russell Westbrook. I don't know what this means for anything other than the fact that Chris Paul is definitely gone. And you knew that anyway because they were going to try to go after Chris Paul, but I think – oh, wait, no, I'm getting that mixed up in a different situation. Never mind. But I don't think Chris Paul goes to the Clippers. I think this ultimately sends him in a different direction. And also, of course, the Wizards are involved in this trade, trying to shave off salary, of course. They will be receiving Gallinari's $6.5 million 2-year deal. I'd imagine they're going to try to get that off their books. They're not going to even want that there. They get Amir Coffey, $3.4 million on a 1-year deal, so that's expiring. Nice young prospect I think that they can do more with than the Clippers did. And Marcus Morris Sr., his 2-year, $16 million contract is now free of the Clippers' payroll. So you definitely like that for the Clippers in getting him and turning him into a piece that kind of fits what it is that they're probably going to want to do going forward. I don't know that Malcolm Brogdon didn't just become a signal to all of us that the Clippers still want to win right now. Now, that doesn't mean they're not trading Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. It just means they're likely going to trade him for nothing young. I've been hearing a lot of smoke about Pascal Siakam possibly going to be that player that they swap Paul George for. maybe sending Paul George to the Rockets or the Blazers somehow. I already told you guys about what I thought of the Blazers aspect of that earlier today, but the other team that I had forgotten to mention was the Rockets. Now, if the Rockets are trying to get older, it's going to be very interesting to see what type of moves they would be willing to make. Everybody seems to think they're going to take Amen Thompson, but if they're trying to bring in guys like Paul George and James Harden, then obviously they're not looking to move in that direction with their timeline. That is interesting. Are they serious? Because they are rumored to be getting James Harden, and now they're rumored to be taking on Paul George. Is that what they want to turn into? Because if so, there's going to be a lot of happy teams that are willing to take all of that young talent that they have off of their hands if they just hate the fact that they have arguably the best asset class of any young team, with Sengun and Green and Eason and Smith and the 4th overall pick. I mean, they have one of the best asset class anybody has, but they I guess they can't stand success. I guess they hate what they have and want to turn it into something that's a bit more fluff and a lot less valuable. So, hey, I encourage them to do that. If Tillman Fertitta really is serious about that, I'm all for it. Send me Green, send me Terry, send me Sengun, send me all that stuff that you think you don't want. Send it to LA. We'll take it, and we'll give you D'Angelo Russell something. So that's how I feel about that. But for the time being, if you want to know who won the trade, for me, honestly, who wins the trade? It's the Wizards. Because they're the ones trying to clear up cap space, and they've effectively done that. Once again, picking up, just getting rid of stuff that they have no business having. A $33 million contract, 2 years for Kristaps Porzingis. Could you have gotten better for that than Gallinari, Coffey, and Morris Sr.? Of course. Of course. This is yet again the Wizards taking back a lot less than they probably should be taking back. I don't know what the heck that's about. Because I can tell you right now, all they got on top of all of that was the 30th overall pick. Now, while that pick does hold some weight, it ain't enough. It's not enough for Kristaps Porzingis. I don't want Gallo. He's coming off of a season-ending injury at 106 years old. Why do I want him? It's $6.5 million, a 2-year deal. Okay, let me just say that I definitely don't want that contract. Coffey, I like that player. You guys know I'm high on that player. Every time I mention the Clippers, I'm talking about how they don't use him enough. So he can have a role with the Wizards. Morris, that's a contract that I don't really know if it's actually a good contract because it's $16 million, a 2-year deal. And in theory, if a player is very effective in helping your team, then that's a good contract to have him on. But I don't know that Morris is even that player anymore. So now that I think about it, the Wizards probably didn't they didn't win the trade at all. I take all that back. If you're trying to create salary, that's a plus. But if you're taking back garbage that ain't exactly valuable at all, then it's not really a plus. You see what I'm saying? It's like, unless they plan on stretching it. If you're stretching Gallo 2 years, $5 million, probably do better trying to see if you can get some value out of him to start the season. Maybe he plays himself into a role player, and now that's one of the more attractive trade pieces at the deadline. Maybe. But it's dirt cheap. But his timeline, even at dirt cheap, is definitely not rebuild. So you do better just trying to trade him for something too. You know, just going ahead and wiping that clean, because ain't no sense in having him on the team. It's just pointless. And Morris Sr., like I said, I mean, same thing, honestly. It's not really a stretchable contract. He's a little too good to stretch. Maybe I try to retrade it right now, or maybe I send it into a different direction in this trade. That's probably what the Washington should do. Instead of even taking that back, don't take that. Just find somebody who will take it now. Just save yourself the headache. Because it's not the worst contract in the world. His name is big enough to where somebody will pay him $16 million a year. They will. Especially a team that has the money to do it. They'll see him as a plus. So that's kind of how I see that. I'm just looking at the Wizards and I'm like, all right, I understood everything about the Bradley Beal trade. This one, I would have wanted more back. I kind of cringe at this one. I don't really love this particular trade for the Wizards. For the Clippers, Malcolm Brogdon's solid. You didn't give up nothing you wanted. You know what I'm saying? You didn't give up nothing you wanted, and you brought back a rookie of the year from the past who has really, really solid metrics, who, when healthy, is a hell of a player. Like I said, I'm kind of surprised Boston gave up on him. I probably would have thought twice about that. But then again, to bring in Kristaps Porzingis, slap him next to Robert Williams, I like what the Boston Celtics did. You know, you got to give up something good to get back something good. So I say that this is a good trade for the Celtics. I think it's good for the Celtics. Bringing in Kristaps Porzingis gives them yet another shot blocker, as I said. Someone who could stretch the floor in a 3-point shooting system. We know that Missoula ball is all about the three. So when you consider what Kristaps can do in that system, it's a no-brainer. Of course, you want that piece. In fact, I might actually mention that somewhere in one of these videos over the last week or so. I might have said that you wanted to bring in Kristaps Porzingis or any type of stretch shooter. It might have been Karl Towns. But whatever the case may be, them getting a stretch 4/5 is a no-brainer. They should be adding as much shooting as possible. And I'll tell you something else. If for some reason, and even though I haven't heard anything like this, but if the Rockets are just trying to get old and they just want to give away stuff, another player I would want up there in Boston is Jabari Smith. Because, again, you want the best three-point shooters there are. That's it. That's why another thing is, like, okay, I know they like Jaylen Brown. Maybe he's a good antithesis to that so that they can have enough rim protection or a pressure, rather, someone who can drive at the rim repeatedly and stuff like that. But if you're going to invest super max money into Jaylen Brown, wouldn't it make more sense to invest super max money into the best shooter you can find? You know what I mean? Like, let him walk. Trade him for the Jabari Smith pieces. Trade him in a sign and trade for a bunch of stuff that can shoot so that you can play Missoula ball. I want all the stuff that Danny Ainge got over there in Utah. I want all those shooters. Give me, what's his name? Obviously, it's not happening, but like Markkanen, perfect player for the situation. Karl Towns already said. Anybody that wants to launch threes ridiculously. Trading up to get Jordan Hawkins. I need him in Boston. I don't want the Lakers to get him if I'm a Celtic. He needs to be in Missoula ball land. That's where we're going to shoot the threes at. So it's like, these are the type of things I'm thinking about. You know, people talking about Miller. What can Miller do? Give me Miller. I'm trading Jaylen Brown to Portland. You're going to give me back Jeremy Grant. And you're going to give me back the 3rd overall pick. And I'm taking Miller if I'm the Celtics. And I'm putting him on my team as one of the best three-point shooters in this draft. Like, that's the type of stuff that the Celtics need to be thinking about. Not putting Jaylen Brown, who's a non-three-point shooter, in a system that's meant to only shoot threes and paying him a half of the damn cap. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me at all. You can love a guy, but if he doesn't fit your system, then what the hell are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what they're about to sign up for unnecessarily, in my humble opinion. So while they're on the right track bringing in Kristaps, I don't know that they're not about to make a massive mistake in asking Jaylen Brown, who's been their guy the whole time but now is in a new system, to be something he's simply not. It's almost like trading him to the wrong place. You know what I mean? I don't think people really see it that way. Your team can turn into something that it wasn't right before your very eyes. The same thing happened with James Harden in Houston. Suddenly his role changed so much it didn't even make sense for him to be there no more. That's what's about to happen to Jaylen Brown. Well, only they're going to pay him like everything's supposed to revolve around him, and I just know better. I know better. They're going to turn around, realize what it is I just said, and they want to trade him very soon after signing him to that absorbent contract, and it's not necessary. You just got to see that already and make sure that you get the players that ultimately fit the system that you ultimately are married to right now, which is three-point shooting at all costs. Jaylen Brown ain't that. That don't make no damn sense at all. Jason Tatum is that. Kristaps Porzingis is that. But Jaylen Brown? No, man. You want him in a better system that allows for more driving and less shooting. Period. He can shoot the three. It's not like he's deficient, but if I'm going to put half of my cap into something, it's going to be somebody who's going to be fit for what we're doing. So if I'm them, I'm turning him into Karl Anthony Towns or something, honestly. That makes the most sense in the world to me. And plus, I like the idea of putting two Atlanta shooting guards together in Edwards and Brown anyway. If I'm Minnesota, I should be wanting to do that. You know what I'm saying? Just put them two dudes together and let them go crazy. Send Karl Towns to Kristaps Porzingis. And, yeah, that's how I'm doing that. And Robert Williams just be come off the bench. You know what I mean? I don't care. When those guys are going to need to come off the floor anyway. Karl ain't going to play out the season any damn way. Keep them both healthy. So let's have a trio of shot blockers that send people to hell. Send the ball to hell every time. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, man. I would do that if I'm Boston. Because Karl ain't got no business being in Minnesota no more. They didn't trade that. And even though everybody in Boston loves Jaylen Brown, he's about to hate being in Boston because they're going to ask him to shoot too much. And so that's just what it is. I see that coming. That three-point shot is going to have to be something he shoots over 40%. And it just ain't happening. And why ask him to? Why ask him to? That's what it really comes down to. When they got so many shooters that they could pay. So many. They're everywhere. So, you know, you can go get Klay Thompson out of Golden State. He ain't going to be there much longer. Think about it. Like seriously, think about it. You know what I mean? He ain't gonna be there much longer. You might as well just jump ahead of that. Since they having all these issues with Draymond Green, just go up there and get Clay. They could slip or go get Jordan Poole. Even though nobody really wants to pay Jordan Poole that, if you're Boston, you might want to go ahead and take him. You know what I mean? You got the system for the most thriving. So I don't know. I don't know how you look at that, but I tell you right now, you're about to give Jaylen Brown $240 million or some crazy stuff like that to be out of sync. Hell no, I'm not doing that. So that's what I'm looking at there, ladies and gentlemen. But all in all, this trade with the Washington Wizards, I just think the Washington Wizards are giving away stuff to clear up salary. They're looking a little too much at the absence of these contracts as a positive only matters type mentality. I don't think that really works for you. You definitely want to make sure you're getting back something for everything, because what you end up doing is bringing in useless contracts like Gallo. It's useless. It ain't. It's not good enough to trade. He ain't really bad enough to stretch, so you just stuck with it. Morris, same thing. Not good enough to trade, not bad enough to stretch. So it's like, are you going to stretch some not bad enough to stretch contracts when you're really leaving value on the table? Further dwindling the fact that you shouldn't even bring them in for the value that they're not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're probably going to play those players next year. Yeah, you're tanking, but wouldn't it be just as tankier if you would turn those pieces into actual stuff? You know what I mean? Like, rather than taking them on and just letting them sit there because you can. It's like, no, that's not the best use of value. Turn it into something. Turn Morris into something. Turn Gallo into something if possible. Coffey's not a bad player to keep. But that's about it. That is about it. And the rest of that stuff is what? Pick number 30, you'll take City of Sissoko or Maxwell Lewis or something like that. That's probably what they're going to do. Decent enough, but they're gonna be the worst team in the league next year by far. It ain't even going to be close. Obviously, they're going to draft at the 8th spot Anthony Black or somebody, but you're going to have a horrible rookie season. Son, whoever goes to the Washington Wizards, it's about to be lose season. They're going to lose about as much as the Spurs did this year. That's how that's about to be. No question about it. And so, yeah, man, that's what I see there. And I didn't think much of the Clippers getting Brogdon. I just think that, like I said, they're signaling that they want to go forward and stay in that win now mentality and probably consider keeping both of those stars or even both of them again. And maybe they just think that Malcolm Brogdon, I guess, is the piece that can make it all go. Do I think that? I think the Clippers are much improved with Malcolm Brogdon. I do. But I also haven't forgotten Malcolm Brogdon's injury history and expect for him to go down any minute. And so as long as he's capable of going down, you're not going to get the dynamic that you're supposed to get from him. But if he's going to stay healthy, he's going to play well. That's just who he is. So I think the Boston Celtics are going to miss that guard dynamic. I know they get to move Peyton Pritchard up to the role that he should have been in the first place, so I'm not too mad at that if that's what their intentions are. Maybe they move Peyton Pritchard and reimagine that guard rotation around Derek White and Marcus Smart. But I just think Malcolm Brogdon brought a certain thing to that backcourt that they're going to miss. They're really going to miss that. So we'll see how they handle it. And one thing I know about these Celtics is I didn't see them anywhere in this draft. Definitely not in the first round. I don't even remember seeing their name in the second round. So that, to me, signals that there's an opportunity for them to get into this draft somehow, and they're probably going to try to do that. Like I said, for me, if I'm the Celtics, I'm not only swinging for to get in the draft. I'm swinging for Miller. I'm going to go and get the 3rd overall pick. That's what I'm going to do. And unless Charlotte takes it, as to which, then I'm going to bring myself Scoot Henderson and feel great about that and reimagine my entire thing around Scoot Henderson. And, of course, Jason Tatum. So, the worst case scenario, you end up getting the best point guard in the last 3 years. Yeah, you want that if you're Boston. So, I don't see no harm in it. I know they're married to Jaylen Brown, but he's shipped out. I'm shipping him out, and I'm bringing myself back whatever I can for the salary match. And that 3rd overall pick from Portland is coming my way. Or Charlotte, the 2nd overall pick. Either one. I'm going to draft Miller if I'm them. That's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to be shooting threes from here to Texas. That's how that goes if I'm Boston. So, yeah, man, I don't know what people think, but I just feel like if you got a system that is going to be catered to shooting the 3 and only the 3, then what the heck else are we doing in terms of building the team? And that's all there is to it. So, yeah, that's what I got to say, everybody. Good move. Boston got their man. The Clippers got their point guard. This is all pointing toward Chris Paul headed back, going to the Lakers, though. Now that Malcolm Brogdon goes to the Clippers, I don't know that Chris Paul is necessarily looking to play a bench role for the Clippers. I don't know that. He might do that with a new team, but not a team that his jersey's supposed to go up in the rafters. Now, that don't mean that Malcolm Brogdon can't play the two some, because he certainly can. But what's to say that they're not going to bring back Russell too, which I think they actually might want to do. So these are all things that we're thinking about. Russell Westbrook, maybe he's going to a third spot now, a different spot, rather than the Clippers, since they brought in Brogdon. Maybe that signals they don't want to bring him back too. So now you got a team that's going to be looking to take on Russell Westbrook's services. I don't think he's retiring, and I think we saw enough from him in the playoffs to know that his Laker woes are probably behind him. So I wouldn't be surprised, if he goes to a certain spot and makes them a much better team than anybody's expecting them to be. That's what I'm telling y'all right now. I go to Miami or something, Russell Westbrook's going to contribute. So that's what I see coming. If he's not going to be going back to the Clippers, which this looks like, then we're going to have some interesting stuff to look at. I'm curious to see who's going to go to the Phoenix Suns. You know what I mean? Because if I'm Russell Westbrook, I'm probably going to be wanting to go up there. Just give me the minimal bag. I'll go play with them. Why not? What's he got to lose? And I don't want to hear nothing about, KD don't want to play with him. KD needs a point guard. KD needs a damn point guard right now. So we ain't going to even do all that. If Russell's willing to take that minimal deal, there should be nothing keeping him from Phoenix. Nothing at all. I'm just telling y'all right now. Nothing. So, and Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel probably wouldn't want to coach Russell Westbrook. Probably would not want to coach Russell Westbrook again. But I would not care if I was Matt Ishbia. We need a point guard. We need him cheap. And we need him at a very high level. And that's exactly what Russell would be. You sign him and then you trade him at the deadline and you get something back for him. That's exactly how you play that. Unless it works, unless it's a beautiful fit. And then you keep it. Because you know he's going to be healthy. He's going to be more healthy than whoever you bring in at the point guard right now. He's bound to play at least 72 games unless something bad goes down, which probably won't with him. So that's why you do that if you're Phoenix. You need high-level stuff that's cheap, that's reliable, period. And so he would be my priority. And I would be trying to convince him to play with the super team and bring some passing continuity to all three of these ball-dominant players. And of course, he would have to likely come off the bench to make it make sense. But I don't care. He would be on the floor like a starter anyway. So these are things I'm thinking about. Phoenix needs to be thinking like this. They need to find people that want to play for them that can really do it and who aren't going to demand so much from the trade market or from the buyout market or the free agency market or whatever the heck that's worded as. So that's my thought, man. A lot going on. Of course, the draft is tomorrow. We're super excited about that around here. And we know for a fact that the NBA is going to give us more trades, so we're going to stay tuned to what is possible as well in that regard. So that's what I got. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching.